Lucas, welcome back, but we're starting this one right off hot. Listen, there's going to be a lot of emails and questions and, predicaments while you're gone, so I wanted to bring you through the most recent updates and email questions, and we're going to be doing our first ever lightning round here. Are you ready?
My mic's burning. It's sizzling. Oh no. It might be. Normally, if you didn't warn me, I think it was some sort of electrical issue, but now I know it's the lightning round.
So the lightning round, don't think about these too much, just want your gut reactions to both the questions and the new Arthur facts.
Okay, let's hit me with the business.
Okay, so round one, we're going through facts. This is the stuff that I found out in the last few weeks since we've taken a break, you and I, from the show. So first of all, there is an Arthur character whose name is Aunt Chrissy, and she is inspired by Chrissy Teigen.
Oh, okay. That must be new.
Yes, in the Rhythm and Roots of Arthur special. Speaking of that special, I also had it confirmed via the official Arthur Twitter account. First thing is that Grandma Thora is in her 60s.
Oh, so I saw this. I saw this on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that means you'll also know that Elwood City is canonically in Pennsylvania.
I know. I almost hate to talk about this through the lightning round because that was one of the biggest revelations.
Well, how did that make you feel?
I felt like we had climbed, like Sisyphus, finally surmounting the mountain, because I feel like that was a hot topic for a good 3 years of this show.
Yeah, we're going to have to find new stuff to talk about. All right, so I've got some questions here from listeners, and we're going to go at them again. What I want is gut reactions here. So this first one is from Dylan. Did you ever try to wrestle a sibling or friend in a pool?
Yes. Recently, I've wrestled friends in pools.
Oh, nice. Are they usually giving you the wrestling moves since you're lighter?
I would say so, yes.
All right. Sierra emailed us about the Ratlin Bog, and her knowledge of it is a song called "The Green Grass Grows All Around," so something like that. That's another regional variant.
Okay, I've heard "The Green Grass Grows All Around." I don't think it measures up to a hole in the bog down in the Valley-O. The green grass, it's all around. It's not in the Valley-O, which is kind of the appeal for me of the Ratlin Bog.
These next two are from Blake. If Mr. Ratburn had to fight someone, who would it be, and would he win?
He'd probably fight that other teacher that gives the students like a free pass. Or no, you know what? He'd fight his rival from the episode where they go to the medieval fair.
Mr. Price Jones. Would he win?
Would he win? I don't know. Mr. Ratburn strikes me as someone who knows like Krav Maga or something, or like capoeira.
Okay, that would be awesome. And also, have you watched Tiger King?
I have watched Tiger King.
Any quick thoughts on it?
It was okay. There was definitely one of those shows that was like designed to be viral. You know what I mean? It kind of had its moment. I'm a little bit sick of it now.
Our newest patron, LineDogZXA, asks, internet rumors that you fell for. One or two.
Ooh, internet rumors that I fell for. Jeez, that's hard to think. Did you have one for this? You already answered this?
Yeah, I think it had to do with like video games, like the Missing No and stuff like that. Although that wasn't a rumor, that turned out to be true.
Yeah, Reptile in Mortal Kombat 1 or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
We'll come back to that one. If you think of one, just insert it whenever you think of it.
It's not on the internet, but when I was a kid, I thought the house hippo was real.
Yes, that was that one also came up with me and Christine in our last episode. So I think that was you. So you did think it was real.
Very briefly.
Okay. Okay, final lightning round question. Would you eat peaches and crab ice cream?
Yes.
Really?
Uh-huh.
God, I thought
think about this. Seafood, man. Think about this. Seafood, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't normally associate sweet and savory. Wrong, okay? Mm-hmm. Maple salmon. We know it's delicious, okay? Who am I to think, peaches and crab, it doesn't sound that unappetizing. I don't know. I'd have to try it.
I'm just a little disappointed because I thought I had you. I thought it was like, this is the one that he can't say that he'll eat. But I haven't got you yet.
No,
so
didn't even have to think about it.
No, you didn't. All right, deep breath.
Are we through the lightning round?
We're out of the lightning round, and we're into just regular old Elwood City limits. My name's Will Young, and the guy I've been grilling for the past 5 minutes is Lucas Mancini.
I think the mic's finally cooled down. I can speak into it normally again.
All moved into your new place, and everything's kind of just settling into a bit of a groove now.
Yes, tickety boo, as they say. We're all settled in. We're COVID free. We're safe and sound, working from home, and so yeah, life is good.
Yeah, as much as it can be given the circumstances, but good nonetheless. So I wanted to lightning round those quick facts and questions to make sure that we did get them to the proper authorities, since Lucas was missing from our last ECL Prime episode. Although he has been on every episode of For the Kids, our Patreon podcast. So if you were missing out on him, you can also go there as well. And now we're going to take it to our emails this week over at elwoodcitylimits@gmail.com. Lucas, big fan of this one, both for the person who sent it and the way that you and I are addressed.
Ooh, okay.
Because it starts off, "Hey Kings." Now, this immediately made me feel amazing.
Yeah, at your service, my liege.
So does that mean we can go on your list, you and I?
No, we could go on this person's King's list.
Okay. It's a little self-serving to put yourself on the list.
I would say so. Not very king-like to put yourself on the King's list.
I understand. So this one is from Josh. Curious to hear your thoughts about the new update in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Can't remember if both of you play or not, but I know at least one of you does. Lately, it's been something of a hyper-fixation for me, which I will partially chalk up to the spirit of the times that we're in, but it's not something I mind. If anything, I welcome the distraction. As for me, I'm currently trying to draw up a plan for how I want to edit my island now that I've unlocked terraforming. I'm also hunting for my last villager, and yes, I am a simp for Raymond, like everyone else, lol. What sorts of adventures are either of you up to in your games? This could also extend beyond Animal Crossing as well. Hope you're doing well in times like these. So, Lucas, you are the one who's big into New Horizons. How's that new update, and what are you up to?
Yeah, the new updates, it's been cool. The Mayday stuff was fun. I did the Mayday maze without looking it up, how to do it properly. I also have terraforming, so I've just kind of been shaping up the island now, building some gardens. I got a wrestling ring, Will. We're going to start having backyard wrestling matches in my Animal Crossing town. Just got a new room in my house, so trying to do that. And also, try to get some cooler villagers. I'm trying to kick Beardo out. I kind of hate him.
Okay.
And so I'm being mean to him in hopes that he leaves. But my main man is Cube. I love Cube and Spike and Hamlet. Those are like my go-to villagers. They're all lovely. But yeah, Beardo's my enemy, and I want him out of my town. But I've been loving the game. I've actually fallen off a little bit because of the move. I've been moving so much furniture IRL. I haven't really had the urge to move it digitally as well. But I hope to get back to it soon.
So I'm not actually playing Animal Crossing. It's kind of not my thing. Like, my wife has had to explain to me a couple times, like, I'm the type of person that's like, so what do you do? Like, is there stuff to do? And she's like, it's not really that kind of game. And she loves it. She's not... there are certain types of games that she likes. She really likes Professor Layton. She's been playing, loves Animal Crossing, and so her biggest thing right now is the turnip market. She's big into turnip stocks and that sort of industry, and it boggles my mind. But she seems to be really absorbed in it. So
has she been going to other people's islands to sell those at a premium?
I think so, and she's been letting other people into her island as well.
Oh yes, and asking for tips. I hope that's the lay of the land.
I wouldn't even know to ask, to be honest with you. But yeah, she's doing great. She's also making a wrestling ring in her basement, I believe. So that's I love seeing everybody's wrestling rings. I'm glad to see everybody having fun. Me, and as for my games, I have started playing Yakuza 6. I'm not far in it enough to be doing too much. I actually need to sit down with it sometime soon. It's been a little bit more difficult than normal. So thank you, Josh.
If we're talking about other games, me and my roommate have decided, because now with a roommate we needed like a big project during quarantine. So I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game before.
Oh no, he got you.
And so the two of us, neither has he. We're taking this deep dive together. The Kingdom Hearts collection was on sale on PSN for like $40 for like $130 worth of games. It's got 1.5 final mix,
Yes,
and Kingdom Hearts 2.8.
Yeah, that's the one.
Something.
That's the one. That's the one that I had briefly.
And 3, and also all the cutscenes from like 37 and a half over 2, and dream drop distance and what have you. So far, I'll say, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 final mix. Not a good video game.
No,
we're gonna finish it because I want to see all the crazy stuff in 2. But oh boy, not it's a bad video game.
So first things first. Any of you, and I'm pointing in front of me.
Dear listener.
Yes, you. If you like Kingdom Hearts, if you're a Kingdom Hearts person, that's fine. Okay?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm having a blast. It's a terrible video game.
Stop it. What I'm trying to say is it's okay to like a game. It's okay not to like a game. We're not dogging on you. Just put your email down. Put your tweet down. Just take a deep breath before I say that, yeah, Kingdom Hearts. The first Kingdom Hearts is probably objectively the worst game of the ones I've played. 2 is much better. It plays a lot better. And I pray for you boys, and I hope you know when to say enough is enough. I also had this. I bought the same collection you did last year, and I wanted to play through all the games to catch up to 3. And I got to the end of 2, I got stuck somewhere, and then I'm like, it was a point where if I to make it past this part, I have to grind, and I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. So
the only character in that game that talks like a normal person is Jiminy Cricket. Everybody else is just either speaks like a weirdo, like Donald Duck or Goofy, or they're just spouting nonsense like Riku and Sora. Jiminy Cricket, on the other hand, is the only one who like talks like a regular guy.
Xemnas and Xehanort and nobodies, and you don't know half of what you stepped into.
Getting Norded. I've absorbed a little bit of this from osmosis.
Me too, and I'm really afraid for the
Master of Masters, and
I'm afraid for 2 months from now.
Spelled X-Blade, but it's pronounced Keyblade.
You know what I should recommend that you do is, in case you end up really getting into Kingdom Hearts, which no judgment. Waypoint, Vice's Waypoint podcast has a great series of talking through the lore, which actually, like, as somebody
I remember that.
Who's not a fan of Kingdom Hearts myself, I actually really enjoyed them going through that. It's really funny and comprehensive. So if any of this actually ends up resonating with you, I would point you that way. Otherwise, Godspeed. Good luck. And try and have fun. Our next one is from Martin. Hey guys, I've heard about how you recently watched the new Arthur special that came out, and thinking on it, I've thought about how the gathering of Reed relatives reminds me of Arthur's cousin Catastrophe from the first season, even going so far as to have a plot point revolve around the interaction between a cousin of Arthur's and both ending with a piano tune. That made me wonder how you guys would compare the two. That's really interesting. I think while I was watching, so this goes back weeks now when we did the live tweet along with the Rhythm and Roots of Arthur, which is where we got those answers on those questions. I think I was trying to, I was like, this seems familiar. Like, they've done this before. And I think you're pointing in the direction of what I was thinking of. Arthur's cousin Catastrophe, very similar kind of family reunion vibe. I think Arthur's cousin Catastrophe also has Cousin Mo, so there's a lot more chaotic energy to that one, versus this one, which is very pleasant and colorful, and like everything is a little bit lower stakes, which I liked. I think they both have their place.
No, it's been a while since we watched Arthur's cousin Catastrophe, but I vaguely remember like Arthur going on like a Metal Gear Solid style sneaking mission around, trying to avoid Cousin Mo. Yeah. I remember the stakes feeling very high at the time.
Yeah, life or death almost, because he was afraid that she wanted to shoot him into space. So I'd say that they are different enough in their approaches that I think you can have a different kind of fun with both of them. But yeah, you're right. It is kind of a throwback to that plot line they already tackled. Good catch. Thank you very much. And our last one here is from David, who's catching up with the backlog. Noticed that we said on episode 80, oh my God, so this is the head lice episode. Lucas, I think this was mainly your point that the lice general was the first on-screen death in Arthur.
I forgot about that. Yes.
I mean, other than like Spanky and what have you.
Oh,
But,
that's true. That's true. Well, no, but Spanky doesn't happen on screen.
Yeah, he does. He passes away. He just closes his eyes.
Oh, we do see the life leave Spanky's eye. Okay, no, but the general was the first on-screen murder.
Murder. That's it. Okay. But, however, David continues, prior to that, though, the general's right-hand man was scooped up by the popsicle stick thing, where he's terrified and calling for the general's help. The screen then cuts to the nurse telling Mr. Ratburn he has lice, as she squishes the tip of the popsicle with a napkin, presumably killing the louse. The video I watched was a little grainy, but I heard a little squish when she cleans the stick, which I assume was the bug. So it's we got a straight up body count in that episode.
Yeah, oh man. Now I'm just like getting nostalgic. That's a great Arthur episode.
It is. It really is. It's a good one, especially I feel like I think about Arthur getting olive oil poured on his head whenever I put olive oil into the frying pan.
I thought you were going to be like, whenever I put olive oil on my head. And I was going to be like, oh, Will, I didn't know about your hair care routine.
No, I feel like that would just reactivate every dry skin condition I've been trying to beat back for the last 20 years. So I wouldn't even dare. Thanks, everybody, for the emails. That's, of course, at elwoodcitylimits@gmail.com. I'm hoping to get some thoughts on Season 9 overall, because this is the last Season 9 episode, which means that coming up next week, it's going to be our Season 10 recap show. So hoping to hear from you on that as well. And of course, can't begin an episode of ECL without thanking our record-shattering 41 patrons. Thank you, everybody who has signed up recently and who has been giving us feedback for the kids, which has been honestly a whole lot of fun to do. And we are talking about patrons such as Aaron DeFilippo, Alex, Andrew Power, Caitlin Harrington, Chandra LaFave Boaton, Christine Liscody, Christine Wong, Sierra S., Dan Mike Dawson Silva, EJ Acra, Emily K., Froppy, Greg Hagai, Ian Collis, Jake Bailey, Joe Sue, John Dulong, John Griswold, Josias Melendez, Kat, Kaylin Krogel, Kevin Noon, Kristen, Leanne S., Light Relentless, Lily Warden, Lion Dog ZXA, welcome to the party, pal, Macy Ball, Marlo Stanfield, Matt, Melissa Avalez, Michaela Gibson, Pretty Cool Stairs, Rachel Pearson, Riley Stevens, Shayna Bennett, Shelby Eden Dawkins Law, Stella Teresa William, and Yoshi. Thanks, everybody. That's at patreon.com/ElwoodCityLimits. It's the last one of Season 9, Lucas, and wouldn't you know, right when we need it, it's a Binky episode. Binky Goes Nuts.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I had forgotten that this was going to be the episodes this week. And so right when I saw the both Binky Goes Nuts and Breezy Listening Blues, I was already intrigued.
So did you know about either of these before you sat down to watch them?
No. There's moments in both of these episodes that I remember from being a kid, but I couldn't guess what they were just from the title alone.
So it starts off. This episode does on a kind of a summery day in school. Get that out of the way. Muffy is kind of sun tanning or just basking in the sun, and a butterfly lands on her. It looks to be perhaps a monarch butterfly. And she says, note to self, orange is the new black. So I don't know why we never saw her name in the credits
exactly.
on Netflix. So the butterfly is kind of flying around to everybody, and eventually it lands on Binky's arm as he and Molly are throwing spitballs. And Molly wants to crush it, but Binky stops her. And then, like, the butterfly, does it appear to bite Binky, or does it just kind of leave the rash on him?
It just leaves the rash on him. I think it's actually, they kind of make a show of it not biting Binky. So something about some sort of insect secretion or something just reacts with Binky's skin.
To take one of your verbiage, the butterfly giving Binky the itch hits different.
Oh God, I don't think you're using that right. If it hits different, it should be good.
Oh, it's supposed to be good? I thought it was just
No, it's supposed to be good. Unless you had some sort of weird butterfly itch thing that I wasn't aware of.
Okay, well then I'll just say it takes on a bit more of a grisly connotation. I'm old, everybody. That's the joke. So Binky does get the itch, and he is taken to a doctor. That's okay. I deserve to be laughed at sometimes. Goes to the doctor, and he is eventually diagnosed with a peanut allergy. But
I always
first of all,
Will, have you ever had an allergy test?
an allergy test, if I did, it would have been when I was very young. See, my allergies are when I was little, I had an allergy against a type of antibiotic, and now I think I just have a general allergy to like dust and pollen and that kind of stuff.
I always found kind of surprising how I don't know. When I was a kid, I had all this imagery in my mind of when you get an allergy test, they like do all this kind of like technical stuff to figure out what you're allergic to. But they really do just be pricking you with each thing that you could be allergic to, circling them with pen and being like, yeah, this one made a bump.
Yeah, I mean, I've only heard, and I've always kind of like wanted an allergy test just to be sure, but thankfully nothing life-threatening like a nut allergy can be. The older I get, the scarier that stuff like shellfish and nut allergies seem. When I was a kid, I didn't have them, so I never thought about them other than like don't bring peanut stuff to school. And even when I was really young, they didn't even have that. But now it's like, especially they go over the symptoms here of like what happens when you go into when you get an allergic reaction when you have a nut allergy. It can be like, well, your throat can close off and it can make it very difficult to breathe. I'm like, that is terrifying.
So a couple big revelations here.
Yeah.
First of all, Binky's mom, everybody applaud, Binky's mom, frontline healthcare worker. Binky's mom is a nurse, which I don't think we knew up to this point.
I think she's kind of worn nurse-type outfits, and they may have hinted at it, but yeah, she
I do kind of
confirms.
remember her napping during the day at some point.
Right.
Also, another detail I noticed, Binky's fit. His summer fit right now? Oh
Yeah.
my goodness gracious. He's got the mint oversized tee, tucked into the dad jeans. I'm hoping they're Wranglers, some Levi's 501s, who knows. And he's got the belt on, he's strapped up, tucked in. Binky's looking good for the summer.
I gotta be honest, I was distracted from his fit because check out that doctor's beard combo.
I know, I do like this doctor character. He's got good bedside manner. I wasn't really thinking about throwaway character of the week. I don't think it's the doctor this week because now that I think about it, I have someone else in mind. But I will say that I'm glad that they kind of were creative with this doctor's design and he wasn't just another kind of, oh, this is like a bear. You know what I mean? Right. This is kind of a memorable looking guy. He's got this balding hair that turns into a chin strap beard.
The big poofy mustache.
Yes, and he's got a calm voice, good bedside manner. He's good at explaining to this child why he might die from anaphylactic shock.
Dr. Kingsbury is his name, as we find out later. So yeah, this is going to change Binky's life entirely. Now, his mom is being a lot more vigilant in looking to see if if their food was made in a nut-free environment. So, they can't get the can of 5 Alarm chili. And they run across beef lips in the grocery store.
Oh, that was a good gag. So it's like Binky wants this beef jerky, he's checking it for peanuts, and she's like, well, is there peanuts in it? Is that why you're repulsed? And he goes, no, it's got something called beef lips.
And it also means that Binky's routine is upset. So that night for dinner, it's apparently Friday, Binky's mom serves some chicken cutlets, which apparently Binky really likes. But it's Friday, so Binky was all excited. He was all gassed up for Chinese food. And unfortunately, they can't really eat that anymore because one of the items that he likes is made with peanut oil.
Or just most Chinese food is cooked in peanut oil.
True.
Even because Binky tries to, talk his way out of it. He's like, well, aren't egg rolls made from egg? But they can't risk it. Better safe than sorry.
My man just wants his egg roll. And I understand. I think it's really taken for granted how much a peanut allergy or a significant allergy of any kind can totally just change your lifestyle. This was a big eye-opener for me because all of my allergies are not exactly I don't have to do very much different. But this was a whole new thing. So Binky very upset. And his mom also tells him that he'll probably need to eat at a special table at school, separated from his friends. Which, again, It also seems like wild that I lived at a time where, and I could be completely misremembering this, but I remember specifically being in like junior high or high school, and that's when they started to do the peanut-free environment thing for kids with peanut allergies. But I also remember a time of like bringing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to school for lunch and that not being a big deal. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm just like, I can't believe it took this long for people to say something, considering how fatal a peanut allergy can be.
Well, it's interesting. Like I remember, like even in elementary school, I'm a little bit younger than you. There was like pictures up in the principal's office of all the kids who had peanut allergies. Like this was like already something they were indexing and aware of when I was in elementary school, even. So it's interesting that you kind of lived through that cultural shift.
Yeah, and I mean, it seemed so innocuous at the time, but I mean, it really is the difference between life and death, I suppose. So Binky's disappointed. He has a dream that night where...
classic Arthur. You know, for a couple seasons now, I feel like we've been getting away from the unique surreal horror of the Arthur dream sequence. You know, my go-to example I always think of, I think this is a season 1 or a season 2 episode. It's when Arthur steals the library book and the long arm of the law gets him.
Yes.
And that is just like, it sticks in your head because the imagery is so surreal of this crank, you know, that's cranking like this grinder that's pulling Arthur back, and then there's the giant long arm of the law that gets him, and it's just so bizarre. And this was like a classic Arthur nightmare of Binky going to this nightmare cafeteria where he can't have any of the products because not only could some of them contain peanuts, but some of them, like a guy stepped on a peanut once and then made it, and then one time they were, you know, the eggs were laid by a chicken who had a dream about a dancing peanut, and so
the guy who flipped that burger, his middle name is Peanut.
Exactly, and then, but just when I thought already, I was like, this was funny, but then when he has to go to the special table, that's when it really gets good.
So yeah, let's talk about the special table. So there's a kid dressed up in an astronaut costume. I forget what his name is, but he is allergic to Formica. And what is it like? He's drinking pureed something.
Oh, it's like spinach water or something.
Yeah, it's like something really, really gross, just really unappealing. Formica, by the way, is a type of plastic. And then there is, I wrote this all down. They pan over. There are these two kids who are sitting in front of a trough of green stuff, and their names are Ron and Don. They're allergic to their hands and all utensils, so they're eating the same kind of spinach slurry by like happily dunking their heads in a trough. It was like I couldn't have seen it coming in a million years, and the biggest laugh of like, what?
So, Ron and Don, locks for Throwaway Character of the Week for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're not wearing, like, oven mitts or anything. You'd think if they're allergic to their hands, they would have more, like, medical-grade protective gear. It seems the solution is they have, like, a brown paper, like, liquor bag. They have, like, a brown paper bag on each hand, like, tied to their hands with a rope. And they both have, a 90s center part haircut. Their haircut actually probably wouldn't be that uncool now. But they're, like, shoving their faces in this trough. Ron and Don, incredible.
I thought it was so outrageous, and you're right. Getting back to the chaotic energy of the Arthur dream sequences, we've been kind of missing a little bit. And then at the very end, Binky is offered Brussels sprouts, which, since he's not allergic to them, he'll be eating Brussels sprouts for lunch for the rest of his life, and that's the horror that causes him to wake up. And in fact, he goes to the kitchen the next day, and Binky's mom's just like, I have something for you. And it's like, not Brussels sprouts. No, actually, Binky gets gifted with his own cell phone.
That's right. Binky's rocking the T-Mobile Sidekick. Can you hear me now? Binky's. I wonder what kind of cell phone plan Binky's mom hooked him up with.
I think whatever the equivalent of family calling was in the mid-2000s.
Does Binky get rollover minutes?
I think it's specifically a cell phone only for emergencies, so I imagine it's pretty bare bones. But we're moving into the time where it's not going to be unusual for the Arthur kids to have cell phones. I mean, I know Muffy already has one, but she's rich. So this is like, it feels like the first non-rich kid to have, because before that it's like Buster and Arthur talking on walkie-talkies. So I felt this was a little significant in a way. Yeah, so it's to call Binky, have Binky call his mom in case anything bad ever happens. And she's clearly very nervous about the fact that he has a peanut allergy and like he's going to go to the candy store. And she's just like, I'll go with you. And he's like, no, please just let me go by myself. When he's there, he runs into Jenna, which I liked. Jenna getting
Jenna
a bit...
sighting. I want more Jenna episodes. We haven't seen Jenna in forever.
Me too. And I liked how she kind of got to be have an authoritative role here, talking about just kind of the general idea of allergies and what it's like to kind of plan your life around them. So I liked that. I liked seeing her again. And I kind of thought she was going to be his like leader figure throughout the rest of the episode, but this is kind of all we see of her. Binky picks up a bag of cashews, which I was immediately like, uh-oh, and my fear was founded. It's called Nut and Munch, and we're moving on to the next thing. I'm always a little upset whenever we have a shot of Binky's room. I'm always a little upset by how bare Binky's bed is. It's got, like, the single sheet on it, and I'm like, his family's well off. I don't know why he just has this, like, one flimsy sheet on his bed.
He could be a warm sleeper.
That's true. Maybe Binky runs hot. So Binky has another nightmare, which again, also like rather threatening and
okay. I think we are skipping ahead. So Binky did. You did say that your warning was founded, but Binky does have another allergic attack.
Excuse me. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. Binky does have some of the cashews, and then has like a big deal allergic reaction, which he uses the cell phone for. It becomes harder for him to breathe. But thankfully they get him to the doctor. It's fine. It's not like it could have been a lot more scary or dramatic, but like, it's just like, no, it's like they caught it early enough and they just have to be more careful. Thank you. I completely breezed over that. Yeah, so the second nightmare sequence of this is Binky having a dream.
Oh my gosh. And again, this is classic. Like, anytime, we've referenced it so many times on the show because this is one of my favorite videos ever. I think we even talked about it last ECL I was on. But that Death Grips Arthur AMV, any sort of dream sequence, whenever it's surreal enough to be like, if you put it out of context in that video, it would fit perfectly, I'm always a big fan of. And this is amazing. So we set the scene. We don't even know what's going on at first. Binky is like stuck in like jelly,
like a purple, sticky purple substance,
as if he's in a human fly trap. Okay, already grotesque imagery we're being privy to. But then we see a dead man walking. Will, much to my surprise, Mr. Peanut lives.
That's funny. I took a screen cap of this guy to be like, well, it's a good thing we killed that baby Peanut, because that I also had the idea of Dr. Legume, his name is, and he's not pleasant to look at. Like, he's a little threatening.
I mean, wouldn't you be threatened by a reanimated dead man?
and he's got like, but his outfit in death has become 100% more fly.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. That's a very good point. Mr. Peanut went from being like oil baron to Dr. Legume is looking like Superfly, you're right. He's looking like Dolomite. That's amazing.
He's the human tornado. Yeah, it's Dr. Legume, who is a giant peanut in a purple suit, and then his assistant Anaphylaxis, which is a joke that Binky made at the beginning of just like, you know, and something anaphylactic shot. You'll go into anaphylaxis, and he's like, "Who's anaphylaxis?" Which is, you know, haha. I feel like Binky always gets the worst nightmares, like the most troubling. Like there's the one
he's getting hydraulic pressed into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
And the peanut butter part is like dangling right above him. He's like, "No, please." And the idea is that like if they do this, he's dead. He will die. Like it's a nightmare, but it's like it feels a little too real. But then he is saved at the last minute by Bionic Bunny, who I was still a little afraid, because sometimes in these fantasy scenarios, Bionic Bunny comes in and he can't do anything, like he's surprisingly ineffectual, and I was like, well, he's not out of the woods yet. But he actually does save Binky and gives him the straight dope on making sure that the allergy doesn't rule his life. Because it turns out Bionic Bunny also has an allergy to salt.
Which is quite surprising. That's a pretty debilitating allergy.
Yeah, it's worse than kryptonite. But I did like he's like, in the typical Bionic Bunny voice, he's just like one little spoon of salt will take away all my powers. I also retain water and get grouchy. But yeah, he gives Binky the message of like, don't let the allergy run your life. You have to show it who's boss. So the next morning, Binky takes all of their food out of the cupboards and is searching to make sure that none of it was touched by, peanuts or, was made in a nutty environment, to which his mother is quite pleased with. So he's really kind of taking the bull by the horns and just trying his best to do his best. He sits at the new table, which is with some of the Arthur background characters we've seen before. And he's got his he has like his meds in this little fanny pack. He doesn't call it a fanny pack, but it's a fanny pack.
No, very 2020 of Binky. Fanny packs are all the way back, except he'd have it cross-strapped, you know what I mean?
Binky's like an independent professional wrestler. Fanny packs never went out of style. He's got to keep the gimmick somewhere. And instead of peanut butter and jelly, which is his mom is kind of spying at him from outside. She's like, "Is that a peanut butter sandwich?" He's like, "No, it's cream cheese and jelly. You made it for me." To which I was like, "Cream cheese and jelly, eh? Doesn't sound too bad." Have you ever had that?
It's good. Yes, it's good.
Oh yeah. What flavors are we talking? Like, what have you experienced?
It would be like a regular cream cheese. Well, it's not dissimilar. If you've ever had strawberry cream cheese, it's essentially like homemade strawberry cream cheese, right? You use like a jam, and then put it on like a regular plain cream cheese.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I understand. So the end of the episode is Binky surprises his parents by it's funny, surprising them with a dinner they're going to pay for, to the Golden Panda Chinese restaurant, which he did a little bit of research and found that they are a peanut-free facility. They cook on pans that are not touched by peanuts, and he can have his egg rolls. In fact, he's going to have 3 without worrying that they're going to give him an allergic reaction. So there you go. And I wonder, I mean, I've never paid attention to it. Are there Chinese restaurants that kind of say, we cook in a peanut-free environment or something like that?
Surely there must be, but I'm not sure if there's any around here.
Which is a little too bad. I can't imagine getting a peanut allergy this late in life and having to give up Chinese food, essentially. All right, we're going to get into the second part of this episode in just a moment, after this word from us. This podcast is supported by listeners like you, and here's how. Over on our social networks, you can follow us and find the latest updates and some fun photos. Facebook.com/Elwood City Limits, at ECL Podcast on Twitter, ElwoodCityLimits.tumblr.com, and Elwood City Limits on Instagram. You can support us monetarily by going over to patreon.com/Elwood City Limits. If you become a patron for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive audio content like our new PBS Kids show, movie reviews, and sneak previews of upcoming content. Support us as well by going to teespring.com/stores/Elwood-City-Limits-store or search Elwood City Limits on Teespring. Buy yourself a t-shirt, a tank top, or a hoodie with the Elwood City Limits logo or an exclusive design by our friend Josh. Elwood City Limits is available online at libsyn.com/Elwood City Limits, where you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast apps. Is it not on your favorite app? Let us know, and you can always help us by spreading the word, tell your friends, and send us a message either on social media or an email, elwoodcitylimits@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your continued support. And now, let's get back to the show. Well, from Binky, we fortunately have to say goodbye, and we're going to bring this season home with Brain, with Breezy Listening Blues. And it's all about Brain getting a B-. It's believe it or not, Brain gets perhaps the worst grade we've seen him get on the show so far. And he is, first of all, he's still, while he's reeling from it, he has this admittedly kind of mean thought about, what if a B-, that's barely better than a C+, and then I'll keep flipping.
By the way, Buster responds to this with going, "I love the B's."
Right. He feels safe. He feels safe in that area. And then Brain's like, if I keep slipping, I'll turn into, and he looks at Buster, and then he has this the kind of mean-spirited imagination where essentially him and Buster switch roles, and in fact they switch clothing too. Which is kind of funny to see.
Listen, I know it's mean, but you gotta admit it's also fairly hilarious because it kind of reminds me of whenever you have a DW dream sequence, and in DW dream sequences, Arthur is usually portrayed as this like lumbering oaf, this absolutely like dullard who just eats. Which is so cartoonishly not like how Arthur acts, but it makes sense because it's in the mind of DW. This was kind of funny to see, like, just how, I guess, poor, lowly Brain thinks of Buster, where sort of the Buster-fication version of Brain is wearing his clothes, and he sees a Zeppelin in the sky, and he's like, "What's that?" And then, like, Arthur's like, "That's a dirigible, Brain." And he's like,
and Buster, who's wearing Brain's outfit, is just like, it's a Zeppelin or whatever it is. By the way, quick meme alert here. I've definitely seen the shot of Buster in Brain's sweater shrugging at something. I don't remember exactly what the context of the meme is, but I've definitely seen that before.
And he also describes it, to help Brain understand, as a really big balloon, in which, Brain then responds with, "I'd hate to be the guy that lost that," or what have you. Still not quite grasping the concept.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, so, mask off here. We really see what Brain thinks of one of his friends.
But not only is the implication that Buster's dumb, then we get this next moment where a child throws used food into the garbage, and then Brain runs to eat it out of the garbage.
Yeah, there's still frosting on that. So not only does he think he's an idiot, he thinks he's like a pig.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, not completely untrue, but just to an extreme that is rather unflattering. So yeah, Brain doesn't want to turn into Buster, so he's obsessively going through his routine to try and figure out what could have been different. And, he's got this kind of like, very stereotypical, like, smart guy. He's a little bit like Patrick Bateman type of beginning to his day. He does, like, so many sit-ups, and he does the word jumble in so many seconds or whatever. It's got to be, like, perfect. And he can't find anything that might have been different, at least not right off the bat, except that he eventually narrows it down to the CD that is playing in the ice cream shop called Breezy Listening Blues. Or, sorry, no, that's the name of the episode. Breezy Listening. So, and it's just like easy listening. You'd probably hear it on like an elevator or in a mall somewhere, which they expand on later.
Yeah, this is pre vaporwave, by the way. This is before people started, unironically being like, when I'm into Macintosh Plus and sort of kind of post easy listening adjacent music, like, seriously. And so this was kind of back when, this was reminiscent of this the whole episode kind of centers around this easy listening tape. And I it's been a while since I've heard people kind of talk about, mall music, for lack of a better term. That's kind of almost a 90s, early 2000s thing, right? Like or even earlier, like Dawn of the Dead is something I always think about, is like they always have the mall music still playing with all the zombies walking around.
Sure, yeah.
But I think sort of through irony and culture and kind of how the internet's worked now, like, easy listening is like something where it's like, oh, people love their Macintosh Plus.
Well, hey, I mean, let's be real. If it was a vaporwave CD playing, Brain would have gotten an A++.
Exactly.
Like, he would have soared. He would have soared to regions of his mind he'd never accessed before. It would have opened him up completely. So he's gonna do a quote-unquote controlled experiment to see what people's reaction times are with the CD and without, because that was the only thing different about his routine. Which I forget if he mentions here, but the CD itself was put on in the ice cream store to kind of encourage people to buy more, which we get into a bit later. So he does this experiment with the Tibble twins, of all people, and there's this, like, try putting the shapes into the, it's like a little barnyard house, and the shapes go in the shaped holes. And it's just like, okay, try it first without the music, and then we'll try it with the music. And they're just like, give us candy first. It'll help us think. So Brain, like an idiot, does. And then, of course, they completely misconstrue this. They start throwing him in the garbage, and he's just like, you wanted it to go in the hole. And it's like, normally I would be annoyed at the Tibbles, but kind of hard to be mad at them when Brain should have absolutely known better.
Well, also his experiments failed in the first place because by doing it twice in a row, you know where the shapes go.
Yeah, good point, actually. Anyway, he would have been much better off consulting someone like DW, who he already has a pre-existing relationship with. I have no idea how he got the Tibbles there, but that's besides the point. So, Brain, he eventually does the experiment, and I think he finds, like, one instance where with the CD, it was, like, marginally slower, and he's just like, that proves it. It was the CD's fault.
It was a fraction of a second.
Yes. And so he decides to do the experiment himself, and he starts listening to the CD on his Discman, ladies and gentlemen. There's a meme going around Twitter with somebody with their Discman in like their jacket pocket, and it's like, "What CD does this remind you of?" And it's just like, "Oh man, I used to carry my Discman around all the time. I had like a special leather pouch for keeping several CDs in, so I could change it out."
Oh,
man.
incredible.
It's the iPod couldn't have come around soon enough because I was lugging that bulky Discman for years to school. I'm surprised I never got robbed for it. So Brain, through listening to the CD, has a dream where he's in this gigantic mall. This
was like something out of like a Terry Gilliam film. Like this reminded me of like Brazil or something.
It's
like...
so opulent and visual. You're right. Yeah. That's a great comparison.
But also like kind of like in a very Brazil-esque kind of like the commentary on like consumerism and excess, because at everything in this place is designed to make Brain buy something to the point where he's offered a credit card, buy a giant talking credit card almost immediately.
Right. And it's the same woman who kind of keeps showing up at these places to encourage him to spend. And it's kind of, you can follow the thread of it's kind of like Baby's first social satire, where it's like all of these things are encouraging him to buy. He gets a credit card. He upsizes his order at Chicken Licken just because it's all about buying more. Until he gets just straight up tired of purchasing things, and he goes to the quote-unquote library, as it says on the sign.
Oh, and so this was the one segment I remembered from this episode, was this library, and I think it's because, my mom's a librarian, and she would watch Arthur with me back in the day, and I think this joke in particular really tickled her. The idea, well, you get into it. What's so different about this library in particular?
So it's basically kind of laid out like a Chapters or an Indigo or like what would it be in America?
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble. Thank you. And they're continuously playing that easy listening music, and Brain's like, I can't even hear myself think over this. How can
it's even louder in the library than it is in the rest of the mall.
And they're also selling these like easier to read, basically almost picture books
bookazines.
Magazines, that's it.
Bookazines. That's a new term. Yes.
Bookazines, thank you. And we see her offer him, how would you like to read this? It's Peace by Tolstoy instead of War and Peace, because they took out the challenging parts. And it's just Tolstoy on the cover doing the peace sign in front of the Kremlin. I thought it was pretty funny. And
Did you see the bookazine, that Arthur was reading? Call of the Mild?
Call of the Mild. And, we actually find out in just a second, it's not actually Arthur. It's a life-size Arthur doll, which I was just like, first of all, it kind of fit when I thought it was Arthur, because it's just like, okay, then Brain doesn't think much of his intelligence either. But then he's just like, let's get out of here, Arthur. And then I think it's Miss Turner who's just like, no, that's actually a life-size Arthur doll. And he keeps repeating a phrase. I honestly couldn't make it out, whatever he was saying.
Oh, wait, I think he's talking about pulling his cord, isn't he? He's referring to, like, the cord on his back?
Yeah, he says that, and I guess it sounded like something else, and I couldn't really make it out. Just the Arthur doll, a bit of a last-second addition that I need to know more about. Like, why does Arthur have life-size, like, life model decoys of himself?
No, this whole dystopia, the fact that it's like the same girl who works at every single one of these stores, the Arthur doll, the bookazine. I can't get over the bookazines. I keep thinking of them now. Like, Gulliver Stayed Home, the Green Quarter Mile.
200 Leagues Under the Sea.
Exactly, 200 20 meters under the sea. Yeah, you could do this all day.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's a really funny idea, and like weird to see it kind of relevant satire in Arthur. Now, I will say that the idea of like the mall being this like capitalist utopia has this consumerist nightmare is kind of something that's been done before. I mean, you mentioned yourself Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah.
but it's also like
Chopping Mall, Will.
Chopping Mall.
Biting satire such as Chopping Mall.
Oh, Chopping Mall, what a movie. You know what's great about Chopping Mall? It's like in and out in 80 minutes. It's not even feature length.
You know what's great about Chopping Mall? Just about everything.
If you can stand a little bit of gore, check out Chopping Mall.
I think it's on Shudder.
I think that's where I watched it. I think you're right. But it's interesting because this is probably the first time that a lot of kids are like watching anything that's related to satire. So it's kind of funny to like see this inflection point. And I wonder if kids at the time like even understood this.
Or they were just like, this mall seems dope. You get this giant soda for 10 cents more.
Right, exactly. It's probably great to especially younger kids. So Brain's convinced that the easy listening is what caused this, and then he kind of asks his mom why they started using it in the ice cream store, and she says, well, in order to get people to buy more, which Brain pushes back on. And it turns out that Brain's mom has scruples in the sense of like they don't want to like subliminally convince people, like trick people into buying ice cream. They want them to buy it because they want to buy it, and his mom agrees. So they're going to try something a little different in terms of music for the ambiance. So we go through a segment here of them trying out different CDs. So first off, we have the return of Coco Taylor to the show in music form.
I loved, liking Brain for me is always kind of, I feel like I didn't have this problem with the first 3 seasons, but it's just been a steady decline with Brain's character as he's become less and less like, okay, Brian, Brain, and more sort of, what is that character from Big Bang Theory's name? Oh,
Sheldon.
Yeah, as he's become more Sheldonized as the show's gone on, I've come to dislike Brain more and more.
Same.
But
yeah.
One of the things that kind of pulls him back and adds a little bit of character and makes him a little bit more likable has been Brain's kind of love of blues music. That's been a fun little wrinkle and a fun character trait that I've always found really endearing about Brain. So I'm glad that that's like official continuity. It wasn't just for that episode where they were specifically talking about the blues. They're carrying that forward, that Brain has this like affinity for Coco Taylor.
Sure, and it's good music. But the problem is that it's it's a blues song, so Buster ends up listening to it and getting depressed. So depressed he doesn't even want to finish his ice cream.
Buster's line of questioning is so funny. He's like, she's like talking about how she's tired because like her boyfriend's giving her trouble, and Buster's like, why is she tired? And then Brain's like, we can find other songs, and he's listing all the other songs in the CD, and one of them's called "I Cried Like a Baby." And Buster's like, that sounds sad. And Brain's like, "I Cried Like a Baby's actually pretty upbeat. It's just got a sad name."
But Buster doesn't want to hear any more of it. It just completely changes the mood. So he decides to kind of solicit a couple of suggestions from people. So Molly has a suggestion. By the way, great that Molly's getting more time on the show. She was in both of these episodes. Puts in for Mudacrude. Mudacrude getting a lot of play this season. And the album's called Shin Splints, which is actually kind of a great name for a metal album.
Also, the fact that Molly only had access to it, it's a bootleg, because I think her friend knows the ex-drummer.
Oh, yeah. She's a real punk. She got the bootlegs and everything.
Exactly. Molly's in the scene.
But it's a little too loud for some people's sensitivities. In fact, it knocks the top of an ice cream off a child's cone, so they have to change it up to something else. So Muffy offers a CD of Rodney Gilfrey. All points are converging on this episode. This is like when she came in with Rodney Gilfrey, I was like, "Whoa, this is the crossover. Like, forget about Endgame. This is the crossover I've been waiting for." And it's Rodney Gilfrey singing opera.
It's really kind of that becomes the logical conclusion of this episode is that it's like, Brain invented the mixtape. He invented the Spotify playlist. That's the solution.
Right, because the next suggestions come from Francine, which is to do the "You Stink" song from Arthur, It's Only Rock and Roll, which was cool to hear again. But Muffy's like, oh, not that one again. So they clearly ran into the ground. And then Arthur and Buster come in and hear that they're playing "You Stink," so then they bring up "We Stink" and start singing their song. This is a great little parade of references. I really liked this. In the end, they can't really settle on one, so Brain decides to meet everybody kind of in the middle. And the next day at school, Brain gets a test back, and it was an A. So I think he kind of makes the leap here that, like, yeah, I guess it didn't affect me all that much.
Yeah, so he finally comes to the correct conclusion that it's like, oh, I guess it wasn't the music after all. He doesn't really, like, attribute it to anything. Like, it would have been interesting if he had, like, not studied enough or there was some actual kind of logical reason. But he figures out it wasn't the music, and then he also comes up with an amicable solution, which is to make a mix CD of all the customers' favorite music.
Which Molly doesn't like the name, but I gotta disagree with her. Sunday Hits is a great name.
I also think it's kind of a questionable idea. Like, it's funny.
Yeah,
like,
yes, please.
At first, it's like the big problem is that, like, when you just play a whole, like, if you play a whole metal album in the ice cream parlor, it's some people are gonna like it, some people aren't. But I don't know if that's necessarily solved by having this crazy mix CD where you have like an opera song, and then like I could just recommend like a grindcore song. You know what I mean? Like we could be. And that I don't know if that's good ice cream buying music or not.
Well, and then there's the other thing of like, so the episode ends with like they're selling Sunday Hits and making a profit. Are you allowed to do that with music you don't technically own? Because this is music from other CDs. Like, it's how you used to make mix CDs. It's you take a CD and you have a converter or a changer, whatever you call it, and then you just burn that song onto another CD. It's not legal, and I'm pretty sure you can't sell that unless you want to get legal action up in this.
Listen, shh. It's very hush-hush. It's a mixtape. They're selling it on Dat Piff. Don't worry about it.
It's just a little utopian in terms of how litigious the music industry can. And there it is. That is the end of Season 9. So before we get into anything else, Lucas, let's rewind it back. This was the Binky episode of the season. Binky Goes Nuts. What did you think about it?
I mean, I sound like a broken record. A Binky episode is always welcome, and it always kind of delivers. And this one delivered. This was a great episode. I think it's got all the things I like from like a truly kind of exceptional Arthur episode, in that it's got a pretty set moral. It's all about dealing with developing peanut allergy, which is something that a lot of kids probably struggle with at Binky's age. But it does it in a way that's not kind of ham-fisted or too afternoon specially, and also does it in a way that's kind of clever and funny. And then it has another kind of staple of my favorite Arthur episodes, terrifying dream sequences. So I was a big fan of Binky Goes Nuts.
I agree with you. I think it's probably going to end up on a certain list of mine. But yeah, I know that we're known for loving Binky episodes, but really, it's a no-brainer by this point. You should know why we love them, and hopefully you love them too. This one, I think you made a great point in remarking on how they brought back the dream sequence in a big way. I feel like they did it in both of these episodes. And with Binky, I guess it's bad luck that he always gets like the most troubling ones, but the troubling ones are the ones that you tend to remember. So I'm glad that they did go for that, and I actually think that this was a very good way to educate kids about this type of allergy. Like, I kind of wish I had seen this episode when I was younger, because it can be hard to understand for a kid just how life-changing this type of an allergy can be. So I appreciate that they made something so that those kids could feel seen and to kind of talk about it in that way, and I think they did a great job. I have nothing but good things to say about this episode. And, kind of talking about it, watching Breezy Listening Blues, I don't think I was, super geeked on it or anything like that, but talking about it, I liked it too. I'd probably say that Binky Goes Nuts is probably my favorite of the two, and I think that Breezy Listening Blues suffers from having Brain as the protagonist, which I think you and I are in agreement about not really liking his presence these days. But I did kind of like the idea, and I really liked where it led to with all of the musical influences that have been happening over the last season or so coming together and kind of duking it out. I just thought that was a really cool coming together, and the dream sequence I thought was really impressive and very well thought out. So yeah, I mean the conflict of the episode isn't much, but I think there's a lot of parts in here that make it a little bit better than your standard Arthur episode. So yeah, I liked it.
I'm lockstep with you. I just like you said, I think it doesn't quite, exceed the sum of its parts. I think there's individual moments in Breezy Listening Blues that I think are really, really memorable Arthur moments. When Brain is imagining him and Buster switching kind of positions, the whole crazy Terry Gilliam shopping mall nightmare is probably like the big highlight of the episode. And then, like you said, the big kind of, and this is a good way to kind of end the season on, the big music crossover on the end. All the in-between stuff, in between those kind of three big moments, are, like you said, a little bit hard to swallow, and I do attribute that specifically to kind of the characterization of Brain lately.
Right.
That being said, though, considering not to kind of step on our season, what is this, season 9?
Yep.
Yeah, our season 9 wrap-up too much. There's not been a lot of bad episodes this season, but I think there's been a lot of middle-of-the-road episodes of this season. So to have Breezy Listening Blues, which maybe it's not overall my favorite episode, but it has a lot of really memorable moments, I'll take it.
Totally. That's kind of what we're looking for at this point, because I mean, we're coming up to 10 covering 10 seasons of Arthur, which still is not even halfway through the whole journey, but we've seen a lot of Arthur episodes come and go, and sometimes you can see the echoes in other ones, so we're really looking for ones that make an impression, whether good or bad. And thankfully, these two are closer to good than they are bad. So great way to end off the season, and makes me really excited for what's to come. And I certainly hope that you're excited for what's to come as well, because we've got a big couple of weeks coming up here on Elwood City Limits, and I want to make sure that you know about it. So yesterday, this would be yesterday, but for you it would have been earlier this week. I posted a Patreon update for everybody, or an update via Patreon. This is for both our Patreon feed and the free feed. So here's what you can expect in the next couple of weeks. Next week, we are going to be talking about, on Patreon, the Magic School Bus. This is one, you want to talk about excited, this is one of the most excited I've been for an episode in a while. And I finally figured out, so Lucas, you had 3 episodes that you kind of pitched to me as the ones that we should do, so I finally narrowed it down and I know which episode we're going to do.
Okay.
So I don't want to say, but it's a good one. It's a classic, I would say. And Lucas picked 3 good ones. I watched through all of them, and I picked the one that we're going to do. So the Magic School Bus is what we're talking about on For the Kids, a PBS Kids podcast over on Patreon, which we do every other week. But next week, that's not all. We've got more stuff coming out, because next week on the free feed, there's 2 things, I should say. Recently, I was able to do a segment, ECL Flash Forward, and talk about an upcoming episode called In My Africa with a lovely woman named Kara Oliver. And in case you didn't know, she has done a TED Talk on Arthur, which you can view on YouTube. We get into all of that, and you'll be able to listen to that next Wednesday here on the free feed. And then on Friday on the free feed, Lucas and I will be giving our impressions of Season 9 in full, including our top 5 favorite episodes of the season. So
Top five.
So it's going to be a good week to be free. It's going to be a good week to be on Patreon. And then after that, we're going to be coming back with the first episode of ECL Season 10, which is just called Happy Anniversary. It's a double episode.
Like, I have no... Now, Will, we might have finally gotten to the point where I haven't even seen that episode. We'll see.
We're in the wilds now?
We're in no man's land.
Well, we're going to have the big Season 10 primer at the beginning of that episode, and then we're going to be talking about it. I think we're entering wild territory. What is it called in... what the hell's the name of that game? The Tom Clancy game?
Oh,
The Division?
Oh, okay. Oh, the something zone. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We're in the Cwazy zone.
The Cwazy zone. But yeah, it's going to be a big couple of weeks here on ECL. We just want to keep you guys entertained, and we got some cool stuff coming your way. And if you're a patron, then chances are you've already heard a lot of that cool stuff. So don't forget, that is always an option, but we're always going to keep everybody on the free feed entertained as well. Well, Lucas, I'm excited for season 10, and I hope you are as well. What are your thoughts moving out of season 9? Very brief, of course. Not looking to step on next week's episode.
Yeah, I mean, just like what I said earlier, I mean, I'm excited to see what a new season has to offer. Looking for a change, I think.
Yeah, I think we're agreed on that. Well, my name's Will Young, and that's an end of another episode of ECL. We're gonna see you, in season 10, but of course a little bit more along the way. So, my name's Will Young, and for Lucas Mancini,
the bees are my favorite.
we'll see you next time.